All right. If this headline of this Business Insider article doesn't convince you that the United States is a failed state and has been, frankly, for quite some time, I don't know what will. So here it is. I'm going to link it in the description box down below. Around 20 million renters could face eviction by the end of September because of the pandemic, with the impact falling heavily on Black and Hispanic renters. And again, this was easily avoidable in so many different ways that both political parties failed to address, for various reasons. So, UBI for the duration of this pandemic, year, 2, 3, however long it would take, do what other similar countries had do, subsidize, all these businesses so they're able to keep people on the payroll till the businesses were able to open in a safe fashion, not forcing people to go back to work during a pandemic. Obviously, unsafe, unethical, disgusting. Multiple ways of doing this, people would still be able to pay their rent as well, but that didn't happen, and look at the consequences. And then with the impact falling heavily on Black and Hispanic renters, again, it's always the most vulnerable and marginalized communities and people among us that are facing the most severe consequences of these, economic and public health disasters that we're experiencing at the same time. U.S. is a failed state, and it's frankly, from my perspective, by design. We've seen during the pandemic that the wealth of the billionaires has increased. What is it, 4 or 5 or 600 billion dollars, while 30, 40 million people are out of work, and 20 million people might be evicted by September. I mean, for fuck's sake, if that doesn't show you how out of balance and wacky the United States is, again, I don't know what will. As the federal moratorium on evictions nears its expiration, experts are worried there could be a homeless crisis. Yeah, no shit, right? 20% of the 110 million Americans who lived in rented homes are at risk of eviction by the end of September, the Aspen Institute. 20 fucking million people. How do these fucking politicians sleep at night? Oh, it's like, oh yeah, because they're bought and paid for by the financial industry and all these huge corporations. They got their bailouts. They're not worried. All these politicians, make $200,000-300,000 a year. They have those Cadillac healthcare plans. I think they get paid in perpetuity, their salaries, even when they're out of office, good pensions, all that shit, while 20 million people face fucking eviction. And again, it's the most vulnerable and marginalized among us. The issue is especially expected to hit Black and Hispanic renters hard. I mean, it's just fucking so disgusting. We don't. We know the United States, frankly, has never been a democracy, and that's definitely not true right now, for sure. Spring water. As many as 20% of the 110 million Americans who lived in rented homes are at risk of eviction by the end of September, the Aspen Institute reported last month, citing data from COVID-19 eviction defense report. The project estimated somewhere between 19 to 23 million American renters could be evicted depending on the unemployment rate. The report uses a model that combined data on renter households' income, savings, and housing cost burden. The federal government banned evictions in federally assisted properties until July 25th. It's coming up. It is July 8th now, so what, two weeks basically. However, the Post notes that it has been unevenly enforced. Additionally, cities and states put their own measures to ensure renters are protected, but the vast majority of those orders have begun to expire in June. And for fuck's sake, the pandemic never went away. We're actually seeing a record number of COVID-19 cases in the United States. I believe yesterday the new record was 60,000. 60,000. Okay, and again, simple. New Zealand has zero. I saw earlier this week, zero fucking cases. You know what? You know why? Because they listen to the public health experts, the doctors, the epidemiologists, not these stupid politicians that are bought and paid for by the, capitalist owner class. And again, it's so fucking simple. Give everybody a check, $2,000 a month, $500 a kid, Medicare for all, cancel student loan debt, UBI, again, the 2K a month. Boom, boom. It's so fucking simple, but that's the problem. They actually don't want to make they don't want to have a solution because they want to make it so bad that people are forced to go back to work, forced to work for lower wages and worse conditions in order to survive. Because look at the fucking situation that these politicians in our government has put the most vulnerable and marginalized among us in. It's sick. It's disgusting, and it's on both parties. It's not just the Republicans. It's the fucking Democrats too. I mean, for fuck's sake, Nancy Pelosi wanted to, means test any type of aid, financial aid that was going to be given to people, and obviously Trump and the Republicans are fucking dipshits as well. So lots of blame to go around to both political parties. The unemployment rate was 11.1% in June, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit, honestly. I think it's probably at least 15, if not 20%. As the virus continues to surge in multiple states, forcing some businesses to close again, and the ending of extended unemployment benefits on July 31st is likely to compound the issue of Americans being able to pay rent. Black and Hispanic renters are expected to be hit harder. According to an April 2019 report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, Black and Hispanic households are more likely to be extremely low income renters and make at or below the poverty line, or 30% of the area's median income. They already face a shortage of affordable living options, the coalition reported. 1 in 5 Black households and 16% of Hispanic households qualify as extremely low income renters. And again, that just goes back to the structural racism that is inherent within the United States, and as well as the white supremacist origins of the United States, and how that's very alive and well with things like the racial wealth gap. If you look at the COVID pandemic and the health outcomes, the economic outcomes that is hitting Black and brown people very hard, Peter Hepburn, a research fellow at Princeton University's Eviction Lab, told the Post, and that is likely to be seen in the housing market as well. And again, I mean that we saw the same thing during the housing, bubble during the last Great Recession, 2008, 2009. Black households, in particular Hispanic households as well, were disproportionately set up with those really shitty loans that had those huge payments that ballooned up, and a lot of them, millions, lost their houses. According to an analysis of responses from a Census Bureau survey by urban.org, around 44% of adult Latinx or Hispanic respondents said they had no or slight confidence they could pay their rent next month, or were likely to defer payment. For Black renters, it was 41%. The statistics are from data collected between May 28th and June 9th, so pretty recently. State and city moratoriums are already expiring. In Pennsylvania, the state's moratoriums on eviction set to expire on Friday, and some were worried there could be a homeless crisis to follow, the Reading Eagle report. I mean, goddamn, dude. It's just so fucking disgusting. Just the complete and utter failure for the United States to protect people on a public health as well as from an economic perspective. They have the fucking means to do it. They could snap their hands like that, make the money printer go like the meme goes, trillions and trillions of dollars to these huge, massive corporations, airlines, Wall Street, politically connected companies, etc. Money printer go for that. Money printer is quiet when it comes to actually helping out the most vulnerable and marginalized among us, who are being just severely impacted by these compounding crises. It's just so fucking disgusting. And capitalism kills. Like much of the state, Berks County has seen a record number of jobless claims and a slowed backlog state unemployment department that's been very slow to process or provide benefits. Officials are concerned that hundreds of people haven't paid rent in months. We think there will be a considerably large number of people facing eviction when the moratorium is finally lifted, Kenneth Pick, executive director of the county's redevelopment authority, told the Eagle, adding that it's still unclear just how big the problem will be. It's going to be fucking massive. The scale is frankly hard to comprehend. There's going to be so much suffering and misery, and it's preventable. That's the fucked up part. But our government doesn't give a shit about the average working class person. It's disgusting. No one has been able to figure it out because no one has been able to file evictions. According to the Post, Milwaukee could be an example of what the rest of the country could look like. Moratoriums were lifted in Wisconsin on May 27th. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported in the first 2 weeks of June, eviction filings rose by 42% across the state compared to last year. Officials in the state are still worried the number of evictions could increase, especially at the end of the month when federal eviction bans expire. Additionally, data collected by the Eviction Lab Research Group shows that in June, almost 1,300 eviction cases were filed in Milwaukee as of June 27th, an increase of 13% compared to last year. According to the Post, almost two-thirds of those eviction cases were a majority black. I mean, again, it just goes to the structural racism and white supremacy inherent in all of these compounding systems within the United States. It's so disgusting. Milwaukee is the future. A lot of these other cities are just beginning to ramp up their capacity to process cases again, Hepburn told the Post. I mean, for fuck's sake, 20 million people could face, 20 million renters could face eviction by September in the United States. Completely preventable, but our government doesn't care. They'd, again, rather make the money printer go for Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, the owner capitalist class, while working-class people, are going to be evicted in the millions. And again, it's always going to disproportionately affect the most vulnerable and marginalized among us. We are truly living in a failed state, and it's completely preventable, and it's disgusting.